Hi and welcome back to another video of jPlay. I am Marcus and today I will do a full playthrough of Donning the Purple using the official solo rules. Donning the Purple is currently on Kickstarter, and yes, you will definitely find a link to the campaign in the description of this video. I have tested this game quite some time, and to be honest, so far I've always lost, so it seems to be pretty challenging, or it's just me playing this game poorly, but yeah, let's see how this one turns out. Let's have a look at the setup for the solo player game. It's really not that different, only that you see only one of those pawns instead of 2 or 3. So yes, Donning the Purple can be played from 1 to 3 players, and it really works out pretty well in all of those constellations. In my prototype version of the game, you always have to play as the white player when playing solo. I think you can also play with the black player. It doesn't really make that big of a difference, but here I will play as white, and of course keep in mind you are looking at prototype components. Things look pretty polished already to me, but you may never know how the final product will actually look like. In the solo game, you will start and end the playthrough as the Emperor, which is really totally different to the multiplayer experience, because this Emperor role can go back and forth between, let's say, the different players. Even within the rounds, this can really change pretty quickly. Here you have pretty much to survive four years, equaling 4 rounds. That's also the same as in the multiplayer version of the game, but here you are mainly competing against the black player here. The black player will not do much other than really placing 2 senators at the start of each round, and for each senator that's still there in the Senate at the end of each round, he will simply get 1 victory point. On top of this, the black player will also try to assassinate you. In most cases he will not be successful, but you will most certainly lose a lot of those stamina tokens up there, which are first of all your life points pretty much, but also your action markers, which you can pretty much spend in order to trigger any actions on the board. But I will come to that when I actually start playing the game. You can also lose the game when all of those regions' capitals are pretty much occupied by enemies. Right now, those red cubes are Roman legions, so right now we are fine here in Hispania, but that's also the case for Thracia and Pontus and Aegyptus as well, which is really important for us because here we get the most amount of grain which we need in order to feed our provinces. We will also lose the game when all of those 28 enemy cubes are on the board at the end of a year. So normally you really have a full year in order to get rid of those, but if you don't manage to whatever for some reason, then you are pretty much out of the game. Not really likely, but it can happen. The last 2, let's say, losing conditions, so like having those capitals being occupied by enemies or also running out of those cubes, is also the same for the multiplayer version of the game. So it's in a way also semi-cooperatively. Apparently you win the game if you manage to have more victory points than the Senate player at the end of the game. But of course you will also lose if he has the same amount of victory points or maybe even more than you. Dying in the multiplayer version of the game is not that big of a deal. This will happen all the time. But if we are dying as the Emperor and we have not claimed this heir token here, we are also pretty much out of the game. So this is really something that you have to take care of as soon as possible. And unfortunately, we were not really lucky when it comes to those starting plot cards, because there are plot cards where you can claim the heir token for free without using an action, whatnot, because claiming the heir token costs us an important stamina token in order to trigger that action, but we also have to pay 15 coins, and in the solo game we start with only 20 of those. So definitely a lot of thinking that we have to go through, but as part of setup we also have to choose one of those 2 hidden agenda cards. For the solo game right now there are 3 hidden agenda cards. For the multiplayer version of the game there are 6 in the deck. I could imagine there may be more in the final version of the game, maybe enabled through stretch goals or whatnot, but right now we get to choose one of those. And to be honest, I think this seems to be the easier one, to be honest. So I think let's go for this hidden agenda. So for each free region that we have at the end of the game, we will score 1 victory point. A region is not this is a province. This whole green thing, this is a region. So in total we can score at maximum 4 victory points through this hidden agenda, which isn't that bad, to be honest. I will explain everything else as I go. So let's start the game with the incoming enemies phase. And in the solo version of the game, you start this phase by simply placing 2 senators here into the senate. So if this doesn't change, this would mean 2 victory points for the black player at the end of this round. And then it's time to spawn our first enemy. So let's roll the province star here. That's the one. So in each of those regions in province 1, there will now be placed 2 of those enemy cubes, if that's possible. So let's start over here in region 1, and unfortunately here we can place those 2 enemies. If we would have rolled a 2, we wouldn't be able to place those enemies because they always have to be more units than whatever their strength points here. So if that would have been 3, then they would have been able to be placed here. But in this case, yeah, I was able to place them anyway. And the same is true for Pannonia here in region number 2. In region number 3, we are lucky because we have 2 legions here in Pontus, our regional capital. So we cannot place any enemies down there, but unfortunately we can place them in region number 4. The next thing that they would do is now always move 1 step closer to the region's capital. So those guys will simply move here to Africa. Right now, not really a concern. We don't have any enemies in region number 3, but they will move 1 step closer to the region's capital. Right now, they're occupying our I don't know, grain resource space here. So this region will not produce any grain for us this round, which is really a pity. And they will always, let's say, go to the next highest step. So next they will from 2 to 3 and so on, unless they are being, let's say, somewhat stopped by our pawn or by legions. Those guys cannot move into Hispania because, again, we have a tie. If they would have been 3, then they would have basically taken over Hispania and those legions would have been removed. Then we come to the harvest grain phase here. First things first, we have to roll for a famine. So let's see which region gets affected by the famine. That's region number 2, which isn't that bad, to be honest, because region number 2 wouldn't produce corn or grain anyway, because this production space is already occupied. But this is still something we want to get rid of as soon as possible. So anyway, region 2 will not produce any grain this round, and now we pretty much harvest our grain. So we check which of those production provinces are not occupied by enemies, and we also check the region if there isn't a famine. Right now only region 2 has a famine, so Gallia will definitely produce 3 grain. The same is true for Roma here. This can never be occupied by enemy forces whatsoever, so we will always get at least 3 grain, but we will add it to Gallia resources, of course. So that's 6 in total already. That's 9 and 15, including Egyptus here, which is really great. So in total, we can mark down 15 grain resources. Not a bad start, but unfortunately we come to the draw cards phase right now. So we will now draw 5 event cards, and it's very likely that some of our grain will disappear through some of those events. On top of this, in the multiplayer version of the game, we could also play a card like this, which would allow us to remove 3 grain from the grain storage. So this is really something if you feel, hey, the current emperor is way too popular and gets too many victory points already. So this is a great way to make the lives for the emperor much, much tougher, because if you end around as the emperor, you would check your, let's say, happiness track here, and if you make it over those thresholds, you would gain whatever 2, 3, 4 or even 5 points in total at the end of each round. But then it's time to draw our 5 event cards. Yeah, you heard it right, it's really 5 event cards. So if you're thinking that Arkham Horror is tough in respect to those mythos cards, one single mythos card at the end of each round, here it's much more difficult, as you will be dealing with 5 events, and they're most likely all bad. Okay, let's start with our first volcanic eruption. Roll the province die or the region die and the province die to decide the target region and province. In the target province, players lose 1 stamina, and we would remove all buildings here. This is kind of okay because so far we haven't built any buildings. So getting those early is kind of lucky, but still we would roll the die simply for the fun of it. So let's see what comes out of this. So that's pretty much region number 1, province number 2.
And that's already pretty bad, because we will lose both of our legions here. And on top of this, you would also place a famine marker into region number 1. The good thing is those famine markers are removed at the end of each round, or at least one of each of those regions. And a region can have more than just one of those famine markers. But at least we didn't lose any stamina and we didn't lose any buildings here. So let's see what the next card will be. The Praetorian Guards want more money. The Emperor loses stamina tokens equal to the current year unless he pays 6 coins. No, we are in year 1, so I will totally spend one of my stamina tokens. So I'm pretty much one step closer to dying. Card number 3. Oh man, lots of enemies. Roll the province die to decide a province number, and every region plays 1 cube in the province with that number. Okay, in this case we are also kind of lucky because those guys are not moving yet, but there are definitely a lot of other cards. So let's roll which province in each of the regions, and bam, we just lost Hispania. Wow, what a combination. But we are not done yet, as we have to place enemy cube in each of the provinces in each of the regions. So that's another one here in province number 2, in region number 2. This time we do get 1 enemy cube in region number 3. This force also just got stronger. But behold, we are still not done yet. 2 more to go. Next we have to deal with a famine. So let's roll the famine die. Right now we were not able to place any aqueducts whatsoever, so we would place another famine marker into region number 1. So if that's the end result for this round, then we are pretty sure that this region will not produce any grain next round. Then last but not least, the air dice. Okay, this is something because we have not yet claimed the air, so we would have to reshuffle that card into the deck and have to redraw again, unfortunately. So we didn't dodge the bullet here. So let's see, what do we get? Oh man, see, grain shortage. Remove 3 grain from the grain shortage storage, which means we just went down from 15 to only 12 grain left. Okay, those were all the event cards. Now we can draw a forum card. That's usually a good thing because this gives us an additional action until the end of the game pretty much. So let's see what we get. Okay, that's a nice one. We can pretty much trigger this forum 3 times, but the problem is all stamina tokens we place on forum cards are locked until the end of the game. But still, for each stamina token we would spend here would gain 20, 15 or 10 coins, which isn't bad. And each 20 coins is also worth 1 victory points at the end of the game. Then it's time to do our actions. In the solo version of the game we have 5 actions in total. In the multiplayer version of the game the Emperor has 3 actions, all the other players has only 2 actions. But there is a way for the other players to copy an action. So if I would be the Emperor and I would trigger the move pawn command here, all the other players could choose to copy me by spending a stamina action or point and do pretty much the same thing. So this way you really get a lot of actions during your turn or outside of your turn. Not sure if it's a good idea to start spending those blot cards early, but here this allows me to place one or two of my unused stamina tokens on a face-up forum card. Right now we only have 1 face-up forum card, but this already gives us 35 points if I would be doing this. Of course I would lose permanently 2 of my stamina, but I think that may still be worth it because money is really important in this game. So yeah, let's spend this card. Let's take 2 of my tokens and place them here like this. So in total I just earned 35 coins, which I can really use in order to do some of the more expensive stuff here, like building an aqueduct here for example. And I think this is what I wanted to do, to be honest. So with my first of my 5 normal actions, I think I wanted to go here in order to place one of my aqueducts. Therefore, I have to spend 5 coins. They simply go to the bank and this aqueduct marker goes to the production line like this. So I don't get to place this building right away, but at the end of the action phase, it will basically placed on the board during the place buildings phase, and I can still, let's say, have it done before the start of the next round. And here's a big difference to the multiplayer version of the game, because in the multiplayer version of the game the Senate leader, so the guy who's at the far right on this Senate track here, gets to swap any 2 buildings on the production line. And keep in mind, during the place buildings phase only the first 4 buildings I ever get played. So here the Senate leader can really make sure that none of your buildings get built, for example. So really powerful and a really cool mechanic in the multiplayer game. With my second action, I think I want to build a monument. This also goes to the production track, so it's not available right now. I will explain what this does when I place it. And I think with my third action, I want to kill a senator. Now I have to roll a die. On a 2 to 6, this senator is killed. Also totally different in the multiplayer version of the game, because there the targeted senators can also play those plot cards here, which also show a strength down there, and this pretty much gives them some protection from those assassination rolls. So in this case I will simply roll a die, and again on a roll of 2 to 6 this senator is killed. Good enough, so this one is out, which also reduces the amount of victory points at the end of this round. So right now he only gets 1. Let's come to our fourth action, and I think I want to move my pawn. The base strength of my pawn is 2, so think of it as my pawn is being escorted by 2 legions or something like that. He can now move from 1 to 3 spaces, and I think the idea is to get his Spaniard back. Right now we are lucky because there's only 1 unit here, so we can't move it in here. And again, we can also only take this region if we are stronger than our enemy. In this case we have a strength of 2, here's a strength of 1, perfect. 1, 2, 3 spaces here, so this enemy gets removed. The people are pretty happy with us, so we get to increase the happiness track by 1. So, and right now we are already in the next threshold here, so if this would be the end result for this round, we would score 2 victory points. But because we just liberated a capital, we also score our first victory point here. Hooray! And on top of this, we also get to roll the so-called glory dice. In my prototype version of the game, that's a normal 6-sided die. I understood that in the final version of the game, this is a custom die pretty much, or more than 1 die, which shows some icons. So right now I have to go for the numbers I'm rolling. In this case, that's a 6. That's not bad, but also not really great, because a 6 means that I just regained 1 used stamina. Not entirely bad, but yeah, I think I was really hoping for some more coin here, or for a blot card. So just to show you what the glory dice does, on a 1 I would be allowed to draw a blot card, 2 to 5 gain that many coins, and with a 6 I would move 1 stamina token from the used stamina section to the unused section. And if I wouldn't have any used tokens there, I would have been allowed to reroll that die. But we still have 1 more action to go, and I'm really thinking of building a second monument here. So let's go there, let's place this monument to the building track like this, and I think this is pretty much the end of our actions phase. And then we jump right into the place buildings phase, so we take all of those buildings and place them accordingly. So I think this aqueduct here will totally go into Egyptus, because if we get a famine down there, we basically are out. This is really the most important region on the map right now, with 6 grain production. But because we just placed an aqueduct, we are also allowed to increase the happiness track by 2. The problem is, if we ever losing this aqueduct, this happiness track will right go back 2 spaces. Those monuments are not placed on the map, they go to our player board, so we will never really lose those. The first one gives us 1 strength for our pawn, so our pawn now has a strength of 3, which is already pretty great. And the second monument gives us pretty much a defense point +1, so if someone tries to assassinate us, we just pretty much got 1 defense here, which isn't a bad thing. By the way, all of those used stamina tokens go to the used section of our player board, and there are not really many ways in order to remove those or move them up to the unused stamina, unless you are rolling this glory die here, or maybe through some of the plot or event cards, or maybe even some of the forum cards. Then it's time to distribute our food here. We still have 12 grain in our storage, and I think I was marking this down incorrectly, because we had 15 and lost 3, so we should be at 12 like this. And each of our provinces will consume exactly 1 food, including Roma right now. But the good thing is, provinces that are currently occupied by enemies are not taken into consideration. So in total we have 25 provinces minus 4, so we have to pretty much feed 21 resources. So or provinces, we need 21 food. We only have 12, so we need 9 more. For each grain we are not able to import now, and this is something that the emperor can do. Based on the grain price here, we would lose pretty much 1 happiness point. So in this case, we would lose 9 happiness points and would die right away. And then we would be out of the game because we simply haven't chosen an heir yet. So I think this is something that we don't want to do. So I think in this case, I want to spend 18 coins from my bank. So I basically get 2 back here. And right now the grain price is pretty good already, and this pretty much fed all of the provinces, which also means we just got to the next threshold here. So we will score 3 victory points at the end of this round, which is really, really huge. But keep in mind, you only ever get 1 happiness if all of the provinces are completely fed. So let's take this grain away. And before we collect our taxes, it's time to give the Senate player pretty much 1 victory point for each senator in the Senate. Right now, that's only 1. So I think that was pretty much worth it. So it's 1 versus 1 right now, but we are still not done yet. First of all, we get to collect our taxes, and then we gain our victory points depending on the happiness track. The way how those taxes work is pretty much you get 5 for each of your what are they called, estates, and the emperor gets 1 for each of those provinces that is not occupied by an enemy and is not in a region that suffers from a famine. So right now this is out of bounds and this is out of bounds here. So I pretty much get 1 for Rome, I get 5 for my estate here, that's 6 plus 5, that's 11, and 5 more. So in total we just scored 16 more coins. Not too bad actually. Then we come to the end of year phase, and in the solo game the first thing that will happen is the senator will try to assassinate us. We have a basically built-in defense right now, which is good, and we can also decide to play our plot card here for defense. But I think I want to hold on to this card because I can also use it to pimp my pawn pretty much. So I think I will not play any plot cards in order to defend me, but the Senate player will now play a plot card, and we simply take the strength that's printed down here. So that's 3 points minus 1. So we just lost 2 more of those stamina tokens. If that would have brought us down to 0 and we wouldn't have chosen an heir, we would have been out of the game as well. So this is really something where you have to be careful about when playing this game solitaire. So we can pretty much discard this plot card, and then we perform some end of round steps. So we would remove 1 famine marker from each of those regions, and then we score our 3 victory points here, which brings us to 4 in total, which isn't a bad result for the very first round. Wow, I'm really impressed. Last thing to do is to move into year number 2, and then we do our incoming enemies. Before we move on, one thing that I have to correct: we get 3 happiness for building this aqueduct down there, and on top of this I'm also allowed to get 1 plot card at the end of my action phase. This is something I totally forgot. So let's see what we get. Oh, are you kidding me? There are so cool cards out there, and this is really one of the weakest one. Of course, it provides me some strength points, so I can use it, I don't know, to take over or take back some of my provinces. But yeah, this is really not the greatest effect in the world. Before we deal with our enemies, let's place 2 new senators into the Senate. So this would now be 3 victory points at the end of the round for the Senate player. And then it's time to roll the province die. So into province 4 in each of the regions, we will now place 2 more enemies. Here it's getting really crowded, but the same is true for pretty much all of the regions on the board. Those guys are pretty close to our newly built aqueduct, so here we really have to do something in order to reinforce Egyptus by, I don't know, creating more legions or whatnot. Of course, they would still now all move, but I think right now we should be still fine. those guys will team on later on. So even though they're coming from 2 different directions, they will still count as 4 strength points. So here's really something I have to take care of. That's for sure. Let's move those guys. Let's move those guys down here. And they will move into region number 3, always towards the capital. They cannot move, but they can. And I think that's pretty much it in respect to movement or the incoming enemies. Then we want to harvest some grain, but of course first we have to roll for the famine. And here we have region number 4, and I think here we are lucky because we have an aqueduct in region number 4. So we are not going to place any famine tokens here. Wow, that's really great news. Then let's see how much grain we get. Here we still have a famine, so we cannot get anything out of here. But here we are fine, here we are fine. These are 6. Here we are fine, that's 9 plus 6. Again, we are getting 15 units of grain, which is pretty great. Then let's bring on those events. This is the first one. And here we have the Roman people are unhappy. Move the happiness track 2 spaces to the left. That's really not nice because it brings us below our threshold of 3 points here. Okay, there are ways to pump it up again, but yeah, definitely not a good start into this round. Let's bring it on. Grain shortage. Remove 3 from the grain storage. Oh man, again, we will lose something, and this time I want to do it right away. So we are down to 12. Then the grain import price increases. Oh, that's really bad news, because now we have to spend 3 coins for each grain that we are lacking. We just lost 3, so that's pretty much 9 coins we have to basically already come up with at the end of this round. Then we have a volcanic eruption. Okay, again we would roll the province and the region die to determine what and who gets affected. So that's region number 2 and yeah, province 5. And I just noticed I forgot to place the famine token here, but I did that now. So region number 2, province 5. That's cool. Remove any buildings or unit there. Okay, those guys are gone. That's maybe not bad at all, but of course we get an additional famine token here in this region, and players lose 1. Okay, here we really dodged the bullet again, because we are down to only 2 stamina and haven't claimed the air token yet. Oh man, this was so close. We could have been out of the game as of the start of round 2 already. Wow, this would really be a very disappointing playthrough. But of course we are still not done yet, and oh wow, are you kidding me? Those rats again. And now we are down to only 9 grain in total. This will be a real expensive round, let me assure you this. But at least we get to draw a new forum card, and that's a nice one. We can pretty much remove negative victory points, because for every time we are dying, we would gain 1 of those negative victory points. And with this card in play, I could get rid of those. So with only 1 action, I could basically die 3 times and still don't suffer any penalties for that. Wow, great card. Okay, we have 5 actions, but only 2 stamina. So I think the first thing that I want to do is to spend our first token here in order to claim this add-on. Before anything else goes wrong, I really want to do that. So I have to pay 15 bucks, or coins in this case, so getting 5 back here. And this gives us the air token. So now we are basically again free to breathe, which is cool. We still have 1 more action to go before we die, but we still get to take our 5 actions anyway. And I think with our last action, as the current emperor, I think I want to move again. So let's move our pawn. We have a strength of 3. We can move 3 spaces. So that's 1, 2, and 3. And we fought battles in all of those regions, even by just moving through, which is totally fine. So those are gone. This gives us 1 point of happiness. Those are gone. This gives us another point of happiness. And for each of those cubes, we get to roll the glory dice once pretty much. So let's see what we get. Oh, okay. We get 2 of our tokens back. And I'm really not sure if that's a good thing right now, because we are going to die anyway. But yeah, I think this is nothing we can change. Still, we get 7 coins, but we also get 2 unused stamina back. I think this was really not great, to be honest. 1-1 would be perfect, or maybe some more coins, but I think this is not great. Those are our 7 coins. But still, we have 3 more actions to go. And I think right now it's time to protect our assets down here in Egyptus. So we want to move our dude again. So let's initiate another move action. So that's 1, 2. Before we can move in here, because right now that's a tie in respect to strength, we are going to play one of our plot cards, but this time we played for the strength. So now we have a strength of 6 in total, which is perfectly enough for those guys. Again, the happiness goes on 1 point. I think we still have 1 more movement left into Cyrenacia. Those guys are gone too, so now we are up to 12 happiness in total, which is pretty awesome, to be honest. But we still get to roll the glory dice 5 times. So let's start with 4 here. So that's already 14 coins. Not bad, not bad. Let's roll again. Wow, 5 more, 14 plus 5, 19 bucks. Really great. But again, I was really hoping for at least 1 more plot card because they're really, really powerful. Then it's time to place our last unused stamina, and I think again we want to build an aqueduct. So let's put it onto the production line. We have to pay 5 coins for that, and now we are pretty much dead. Good thing is we are the air now, so this air goes back to this track here. We get our negative victory point for dying. We get all of our unused stamina back. This includes, I'm not sure if it really includes, I get them back anyway, but we can reclaim it. But we don't get those back here, so they will stay on this forum card permanently, pretty much until the end of the game. But we still get 1 more action, if I'm not mistaken. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's the case. I've not placed anything on forum card yet. So yeah, let's place our last action for this round onto the assassination attempt here. So again, we have to pay 5 coins, and then we are allowed to roll this die. Oh man, are you kidding me? Okay, we were not successful killing that senator down there. I could have placed my plot card here, I think, in order to pimp this roll, but I didn't. So yeah, this was a fail. So yeah, unfortunately this guy gets 3 victory points, and I think those were all of my actions for this round. So let's slide everything up here again, so we have pretty good amount of stamina left for the rounds to come. And on top of this, I'm also allowed to take 1 plot card. So let's see what we get. That's the perfect card. Awesome. Move the grain track 1 space up or down. We come to the place buildings phase first before we distribute the food, but I will totally play that card pretty much before we distribute our food. I can play those cards anytime in most cases, but let's place our building first. I think I want to place the aqueduct also down here into this capital here. This lets us remove 2 of the famine tokens which are here, and on top of this we just got 1, 2, 3 more happiness points. Wow, that's 5 points you would make at the end of this round, which is really insane. Then it's time to distribute some food. We will play our plot card for sure here. This will let us move the price track 1 step down, up pretty much. So grain price went down significantly, but we still have to feed our regions. We have 4 provinces with enemies, so that's 21 provinces left. We have 9, so 12 grain we have to import, which is pretty much 24 coins if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's the case. So all our provinces are fed. Unfortunately, we already maxed out here, but yeah, I will still buy it. Then it's time to collect our taxes, but before that the Senate player gets 3 more victory points, so he's also already up at 4 points. And yeah, it sounds easy, but I think he really gets some momentum now. So really, I hope that during the next turn we will be able to remove at least 1 of those senators down there. But yeah, let's get our money first. Here we get 5, 6. This is out of bounds because of the famine. Here we have 5 more. Here we have 4 more. And down there we have 6 more, which means we just made 21 coins. And then we come to the end of round. So again, this Senate player will try to assassinate me. But I think I want to play my plot card now. That's a pretty crappy card. So I get 3 defense points here plus the 2. Oh, sorry, the 1 I get here. So I think he would not be able to harm me because the only card, yeah, that's a strength of 2. Okay, I shouldn't have played this card because with this defense I would only lose 1 stamina point. But yeah, you have to choose your card before he does. Let's remove this famine token here. I think that's the last one left. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then we get 5 more points because we are so damn popular. Awesome. And then it's time to move into year number 3. Again, we would start with the incoming enemies, which also means we have to place 2 new senators. So this guy would get 5 more points at the end of this round. But then let's roll the province die again. Let's see where those guys come out. So that's province number 5 in each of the regions. To go here to Britannia, which is bad news because they will move into our production space later on. So again, region number 1 will not produce any food this round. 2 will go to Macedonia. And there are some more down here in Mesopotamia. And Egyptus is safe. Pretty damn awesome. Cool. Then it's time to harvest some grain. Let's roll the famine die first. That's region number 2, but region number 2 has an aqueduct too, so we don't place any famine tokens there. Awesome. But of course I forgot to move those guys, so let's move them in. So we just lost Hispania here. Those guys will move here, those guys will move here, and those guys will move to Dalmatia here. So right now that's still okay. We have to do something about it. But keep in mind we are still in the harvest grain phase. I simply forgot to move those guys, but we are still fine. But this now means that here this, let's say, Western Europe region doesn't produce any good. Here we have still 3 plus 3, that's 6, 9, 15. It's still 15, which is cool. And I'm not entirely sure how many of those grain shortage cards there are in the event deck, but we will find out sooner or later because we go directly into the draw cards step. So this is our first event card. Again, the Roman people are unhappy, and this guy reminds me so much of Tony Soprano. You know, there was this episode where he has his painting of his and his horse and so on, and yeah, totally reminds me of this episode here. But of course we still have to move the happiness track 2 spaces to the left. Not the worst thing in the world right now. But of course we have more cards to draw. The Earthquake, again we would decide the target region with the famine die here. That's region number 1, and again we dodged the bullet here because all buildings would have been removed with this card. At 1, yeah, we see 1 famine marker up here, and each player lose 2. But right now we are not in the target region. I think that's okay. But I nearly forgot. I'm allowed to remove 1 unit from each of those provinces. Yeah, of course, we are not done yet. Let's get to the 3rd card here. Approaching enemies. Roll the province die. And this time it's region 2 and 3. Oh yeah, this can be bad news for region number 2 now. So let's roll the province first. That's number 3. And I think again we were kind of lucky. Oh yeah. So here we place 2 units there, and we also have to do the same here. So right now we will lose this region because those guys will all move up into Pontus. They will move here according. I really have to do something about that, but I don't have enough strength points. And this region is also really in danger right now because those guys will also move in there relatively soon. Unless I'm moving my pawn there, because my pawn has a strength of 3. So this would not be enough to take over the capital here, Thracia. But not so fast. Still some more to go. We would roll the famine die again. So let's see what we roll. And I'm really hoping for a 2 or a 4, to be honest. And a 2 it is. Perfect. Again, we can skip this card. And then it's our last card. And oh man. Again, we would roll the die. And this time it's region 3 and 4. I think 4 should be safe. but region 3 is pretty overrun already. So let's see where those go. Into region number 1. So they go here. And they go directly here. Yeah, they will move in here. I think there's no chance we will ever get this one back, and they move also closer to that area, which is kind of a problem, to be honest, because if they continue to accumulate here, this will take them from our supply. And keep in mind, we also lose the game if we ever run out of those cubes. But those were all of the event cards. Let's get the next forum card. That's an interesting one. We can move X from your used circle to your unused circle. So pretty much by spending one, we can regain up to 3 of those. Can be okay if you don't want to die, to be honest. And yeah, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's not too bad. Then it's time to do our actions. And again, I think I want to start with moving the pawn. So let's move him 1, 2, 3 spaces here. Those guys are gone. We get 1 happiness point, and we get to roll the glory dice twice. So let's quickly do that. Okay, those are 8 more coins. I was really hoping for at least 1 plot card here, but of course I'm not complaining here. Seems lame, but I think I wanted to move again, and this time I can free my capital here in Hispania, so I get 1 victory point. So that's 1, 2, 3 more points. So pretty much the happiness track goes back to 15, which is cool. We get 1 victory point for liberating Hispania, and we get to roll the glory dice twice again. So again, let's leave everything as it is. 1, 1. No, again, that's 8 more coins. Again, that's not really bad, but I was really hoping for some more cards. But then I think it's time to train some legions. So I think I will go with 4 legions. Yeah, 4 legions equals 8 coins here. And of course I will place them here into my capital here in Thracia. I still have 2 more actions to go. And I think I want to move my legion right now. Maximum of 2 spaces. And I think I want to take a risk here. So I will move all of those guys 1, 2 spaces here into Dalmatia, pretty much through Macedonia. So those guys are gone. Those guys are gone. We gain happiness, but we are already maxed out here. And now we get to roll the glory dice 7 times. So let's start here. Okay, finally, we got our first plot card out of this. This is perfect. So in total, that's 11 bucks already, and we get to get 3 more rolls. So let's remember 11. 11 plus another card. This is 15 coins, plus we would gain 1 stamina back, but we don't have those, so we roll again. So that's 15 already. 19 coins and 2 plot cards. Awesome stuff. So let's see what we get. Okay, place a free estate on the building track, which is cool. And we can move the air token from anywhere to your player mat free of charge and free of actions. That's so cool. But we also get 19 coins in total. Awesome, that was a great action. With my last action, I think I want to kill or assassinate another senator. So we have to pay 5 coins for that. And again, we get to roll the die here. Okay, this time we were successful. This guy is killed. And those were all of our actions. So let's move everything down. We get to draw another plot card. So let's see what we get. And I think that's the perfect card for the last round. The Emperor must draw 1 less event during the event phase. So this is pretty cool if you want to basically arrest the Emperor. But if you are the Emperor, this is also a great card. I think before we move into the place buildings phase, I want to play this card here. So this lets me place one of the estates onto the production line. Now we come to the place buildings phase, and I think I will take this building and will place it in the most protected province on the board right now. Awesome. Then we have to distribute some food. Right now that's 23. We have 15 in our warehouse or in our storage, so we need 8 more. Grain price is 2. Not a big deal. So we will totally feed all of our provinces here. Perfect stuff. But again, we are maxed out here. Before we move into the collect taxes phase, those guys get 4 more victory points. And I think they're already at, is it 8? I think it's 8 points in total. Not bad at all. But we now get some serious coin back. So those are now 2 estates. So that's 10 bucks in total. 1 more here. This is fully available. That's 6 more here. Here we get 4 more. And 6 more down there. So in total we just made 27 more coins. Then it's assassination time. I think I will not play a defense card. I think there is no one here. And I still have my plot card, so I can take the air anyway. So let's draw the card. Okay, that's a strength of 2, which means we just lost 2 more stamina token, but we are going to die during the last round anyway, so I'm not really concerned about this. Let's remove the one and only famine token, and then let's collect our 5 victory points for this round. And then we are ready in the final round of the game. As usual, let's place some more senators into the Senate, so that's 6 more points for him, and if I'm not able to place a senator here, then he will also gain 2 more, because the rightmost senator gets 2 victory points by the end of the game. But to be honest, I think I should have done it already, to be honest, because the only thing that I have to make sure is not to die. That's my only concern this round. So let's hope for some cool event cards. And I think before we go into the draw cards phase, I want to play this card here, because then I'm allowed to draw 1 less event card during the events. Could be pretty powerful. But first of all, let's have some enemies. Okay, that's region number 6, and that's bad. Wow, that's really bad news. Maybe not so much for Germania, but definitely for Thracia here. So this thing is pretty much removed. And this also means this goes down 1, 2, 3 spaces again. Wow, I hate it. We have 2 more guys here in Armenia. Right now they are blocking this, but they will move out there anyway, so that's not really a bad thing. And then we have 2 more troops down here in Judea. So maybe things are really getting tense still. So maybe I should have been so quick, to be honest, because if I lose this too, there's really a good chance I'm not making enough food this round. So, okay, let's wait and see. But let's have everyone move, so they will move here too. Wow, insane. They will move down here to Mesopotamia. They can't move. The same is true for Germania, because our strength is higher than that. They will not move out of the region's capital. So I think that's already it. And then we can roll the famine die, because we come into the harvest grain phase. That's region number 2. Oh man, that's really crap, because we just lost our aqueduct up there. But so this region will not produce any food, but I think overall we are still doing okay, because it should still be 15 grain we are making here, 6 there. Only region that's pretty much blocked is region number 2 at this point in time. So yeah, again, we produced 15 resources, and now I will play those cards. So let's see. I will play this card, so I have to draw 1 less card this year. This is already a good thing. Then I will play this card too, because this allows me to move the air token down here. Not sure if I should do that right now, to be honest, because there are cards I could lose. You remember this, the air is dead, but I'm also down to only 2 stamina, and there are cards which would let me lose 2 stamina, like the earthquake. So I think I really have to go first here. Good thing is I only have to draw 4 cards now, but it's still incredibly close. Maybe I really should have considered defending myself against this plot card up there. Oh man. But wait, I just checked the footage again. I should have only lost 1 stamina point, because I have built this second monument here. So I'm at 3. Still, there are there's a good chance that I could die anyway without the air, so I will definitely hold on to this. So let's move into the events phase. So let's draw our first... Are you kidding me? Yeah, the air dies. If no player, the air is. The problem is we would now place the air token back on the action space on the Emperor's mat. Oh man, now I'm really glad I caught my mistake up there, but still we have 3 more cards to go, so enough possibilities for us to die. Enemy movement, move all closer to their regional capital. Okay, that's not a bad thing, because the only who can move are those guys here. They will move into Cappadocia. And then it's the earthquake. Oh man, roll a die to decide the target region, and if we are now rolling region number 1 up here, we are in serious troubles. So let's see, and that's region number 4, which is also not great, because we just lost our aqueduct here. We lose a unit in each of the provinces, but this also means we just went down 3 more points on our happiness track here. Then it's our 4th card, the air dies. Okay, we can reshuffle this, so I will do that later on. And here we get, oh, the grain import prices increase. This can really be bad, but I think we should have more than enough money, to be honest. But anyway, things just got more expensive pretty significantly. Let's draw our last forum card here. For the rest of the game, draw 1 plot card at the end of your turn and get +1 to your hand limit. That's pretty cool, to be honest, but unfortunately a little bit too late. Then it's action time. With our first action, we want to choose an air. This costs us, do we have that in change? No, we don't. So we will spend 20 and get 5 back. Then I think we want to move. And I think I want to move 1, 2, I don't know, 3 spaces here. Those guys are that. We get 1 point of happiness, and we can roll the die, or the glory die, twice. So let's do that real quick. Okay, that's 1 more and 4 coins. Not the greatest result, to be honest, but I will definitely take the 4 coins here. Our third action, we want to move again. So that's 1 and 2. Again, happiness goes up 1 space. We get 2 rolls, and we liberated a capital, which gives us yet another victory point. Last, we want to bribe a senator. This costs us now X, where X is the amount printed here. So that's pretty much 7 coins we would have to pay. Now we made sure we are the rightmost senator in the Senate, so we will get the 2 victory points by the end of the game, and not the Senate player, which is really important. But unfortunately now we died because we are out of stamina, so we will pretty much revive right away. We will return the air token. We still have 1 more action to go, and I think I will take this and will place it right here. So this lets us remove 2 of our negative victory points. Awesome. Those were all of my actions. So we should be fine and not die at the end of the round, no matter what assassination card those guys are drawing. But of course we get to draw a plot card anyway. And oh yeah, we already know this one too. Does it make a difference to spend it, or should I keep it for defense? No, I will spend it in order to gain 5 more coin, because in total this means this 5 produced yet another victory point. Keep in mind, for each of those I get some points back. I still have to spend some coins for feeding my people, but yeah, that's fine. We don't have any buildings to place. We can distribute our food, and I was not really thinking straight because food price went up significantly. But yeah, I will have to live with it anyway. We have 3 provinces right now, so that's 22 minus 15, which we have in our storage. So we need 7 more times 3. That's 21 coins. Pretty much 1 victory point we are spending, but because we fed all of our folks, we got the victory point right back here because we made it over this threshold. Then those guys get their 6 victory points for 6 sanitary in the Senate. So that's 10, 14 victory points in total. I think there's not really much he can do. I think, yeah, he pretty much lost because we still get to collect our taxes. This doesn't produce anything because it's in a region with a famine, but that's still good enough. So 5 here, 1 more here, 6 more there. So in total, 21 more coins. Again, the senator is trying to kill me. Oh, wow, that's a 4. Are you kidding me? Wow, 1, 2, 3, 4 stamina points. I was not aware that there is another 4 in this deck. Wow, I was really lucky, it seems. Then we get 4 more points from this track here, which brings me to 20 points in total. Not too bad. And I'm not done yet because I still get to collect 2 more points because I'm the rightmost senator. And on top of this, I can score my hidden agenda card, which is pretty much 1 victory point for each region that is free of enemies, which is pretty much 1 and 2 here. So I made a total of 24 victory points against the 14 points of the black senator player, which is really insane. To be honest, I've never won this game before in solo mode, and I think I was extremely lucky when it came to those forum cards here. So here I basically got 2 points back. Here I got this card early, so I was really, let's say, rich enough to keep the happiness track pretty high, to be honest. So this was, I think, really the deal breaker, that I was able to feed all of my folks. Even the grain price was not that big of a concern because I was able to, I think, reduce this grain price once. It went back up, but overall this didn't really matter at all. And I think I just noticed I didn't score my coins here, so those are 3 more victory points. Wow, this was really insane. And again, I was really lucky because I really could have died relatively easily when I was here in the Spain region, for example. And I think when those guys would have moved into that region, not sure how many stamina points I had at that point, but I was really close to dying. So I think I was extremely lucky with this playthrough, because dying in this game is not unlikely, and then you don't have the air token with me, and then you simply lose the game. I really hope you enjoyed my little playthrough using the solo rules of Donning the Purple here. I also recommend you to reach out to Katie's Game Corner. From what I know, she's also doing at least a written review about this game, and definitely check out her site for sure. And yeah, keep in mind it's currently on Kickstarter, so check out the campaign page. Again, you will find a link to the campaign in the description of this video. And yeah, hope to see you soon in one of my other videos, and until then, bye bye.